What's up, card people? So today we got a video on dealing damage, specifically in PvP or arena for Rdruid. And so a lot of people ask me like, how am I doing so much damage? You know, I play against other druids that seem like they're playing offensive, but I'm doing a little bit more. It could be a lot of it is towards my build and what I'm, the talents and legendaries I got and whatnot. So I'll go over all that today, what I do, and then I'll also add in at the end how I do my little one-shot convokes. I mean, I wish there was more skill to it like it was on BFA, but it is what it is. But I'll show you guys what I do to set those up. All right, so generally for the setup, important factors I have: feral affinity, obviously just for rake damage, having maim, having rip, just more consistent damage. I do have Heart of the Wild. Honestly, Heart of the Wild is really not the best for rest of your playstyle, but I honestly just use it to one-shot people with Convoke because that's fun. So I mean, that's really my only reason why I run Heart of the Wild. I don't usually really use it to keep up consistent damage. I literally just pair it with Convoke to one-shot people. And honestly, some of the 2s games have become so long with this dampening change that I get too off in a game. It happens a lot actually, so it is kind of nice to have. And then lastly, Master Shapeshifter. I know this is bugged. If you guys do not know, this thing, you see the buff here? No, you don't. The Master Shapeshifter has not worked for cat form since they changed it literally 3 months ago on the beta. It has not worked. If any of you guys do want to help me out and report it, I've been reporting it every day. You go to support here. And then this comes up here, and then you'll see a picture with a bug here, submit feedback and bug report. And then you can just kind of type in the Master Shapeshifter does not work in cat form. I just submit something every day. I don't know if they'll ever do anything. Apparently a viewer of mine emailed them and they said that to update your add-ons. I'm clearly that's not the issue, but anyway, I still run it because there's still I'm just a believer. I want to believe it works, but there are cases where it does stay up for like 10 seconds. It's either it could fall off after 1 second, it could fall off after 10 seconds. Kind of depends. I don't know. Outside of that, I am stacking as much versatility as I can, and then as the expansion is going on, I think I'm going to try to pack on more haste. Haste is really good for doing damage because of energy regen. Being able to generate your energy faster, the more haste you get. Haste does not affect GCD in cat form because, as you see here, global cooldown. Your global cooldown is already maxed out in cat form if you did not know that. So there is no impact on GCD, but your haste does affect your energy regen. Right here, energy regen. So as you get more haste, like for example, what is that right now? 15.4. If I take this trinket off that has 100 haste, can't do that while in combat. Oh, now it goes down to 15. So haste does increase energy regen, which is nice to know. And it allows you, to generate common points faster, and then eventually, you're getting more melee attacks, you're getting more common points, that means more rakes, more rips, more maims, all that good jazz. So it just kind of overall increase your damage. What else we got? And then so the three or four main abilities that you're going to be getting your damage from are Rake, Rip, Ferocious Bite, and Moonfire. Okay. So with my legendary that I'm running, the Druid of Deep Focus, your Moonfire, Rake, Rip, and Riju doesn't matter, deal 40% more damage when they're on one single target. This is what I found is this is the legendary that will give you the most damage out of any other legendary, even more than the Circle of Life and Death one. Just because the damage is just 40% is just so much. And if you are Necrolord, that's actually sick too, because I would love to try that out to see how that worked with this, but I am not Necrolord unfortunately. But I feel like that would actually be sick paired with this if you get full bleeds up, especially if Heart of the Wild, and then Adaptive Swarm it's probably gonna pump. So so those are the damage abilities. How I typically open in arena, it's not as flashy as I used to do in BFA with like all the one-shot openers and whatnot. You can't really do that right now, and it's not really worth ever convoking in the opener. You always want to convoke with when it's like you're gonna get it off. So typically how I open is usually just a Rake, Shred, Rip, and then I run away, Moonfire, Sunfire. That's typically how I open, and then I just let the dots roll. Moonfire is very underestimated. So when you look at, obviously these numbers are busted, but we can still go off based off percentages. the damage that these three are doing comparatively to, obviously, you know, Sunfire is really nothing, but look how much damage Moonfire always actually comes out on top, even more so than a Rake out of stealth. If you didn't know, Rake out of stealth does 60% more damage. So that's why I'm always trying to get restelts to take advantage of that 60% increased damage on Rake. But this is another good point. Like even if you guys play Guardian Affinity and you just want to get out a little bit of damage, Moonfire is so underestimated. Like it's your strongest stat. It's just straight up your strongest stat. As long if you have equal uptime on both of these, it's just gonna always be your strongest stat. So definitely take advantage of that. If you are running the legendary, definitely make sure you're keeping that up. The one thing you gotta watch out though is mana. Moonfire does cost mana, so does Sunfire. I tend to not Sunfire as much just because the risk to reward is really not that great. It does do somewhat damage, but not that great, as you can see the percentages wise. And Sunfire costs twice as much mana as a Moonfire. So just be careful, you know, if you see like the game going to 0 mana, maybe you should hold off on using it so much. But if you don't, let them fly. Let those fires fly. Hey, that was nice. Okay, so outside, that's pretty much my consistent damage. When it comes to using my combo points, I get that question a lot. How do I use my combo points? Rakes, I mean, with rips, maims, and bites. So if you do not know, rip is the same DPS no matter how many combo points you have. So it's not really the best. You don't really need to 5 combo point rip. You know, whether it's a 1 combo point, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's the same damage per second. It just lasts longer. So I usually don't use full combo point rips. Sometimes I might if I see no opportunity to bite or maim. I usually try to bite. I only 5 combo point bite if I see myself killing somebody. Just because of the legendary I'm running, rip is a lot stronger now. So I don't usually use it with 5 combo points. My 5 combo points are generally going to be maims, and then occasionally rips, but usually maims to get stuns and apply pressure. Just remember with maim, don't maim randomly. You want to maim with setup, like with purpose. So, you know, if there's an opportunity to set up like with your teammate, or you have cooldowns, you have a convoke, whatever it may be, if that's a better opportunity to maim than otherwise. Like if that's the case, if you know your partner's in the back getting trained by a Windwalker, and you don't really have any follow-up CC, you know, you can't clone him, he's on clone DR for whatever reason, you don't want to randomly maim. You want to actually always want to stun with purpose, because maim is so effective and it's a short cooldown too. So, you know, make sure you're using that effectively. So typically it's going to be either maim for 5 common points or rip. If I don't see any kill potential in the future, I'll probably just rip and just let it ride. But bite is just not worth it in my opinion, for especially with like a lot of the, you know, the armor and damage reduction stuff out there. Bleeds go through armor. So especially if you're reversing complete class, bites are really not worth it. Like a paladin or a warrior or a death knight, because bleeds will go through armor. Okay, so, and then one last thing, this is kind of a side note, not really me doing damage, but Thorns, okay? Thorns is so strong, so strong. Like, I mean, there's some games where Thorns could just be, like, insane, right? The only tip I would say with that is, if you want to try to maximize your damage with Thorns, is to pair it with their cooldowns. You know, warrior uses Avatar, you know, a Windwalker's Fist of Furying, because they don't want to cancel that Fist of Fury. A rogue kidney shots, especially during stuns, because you know, think of in their head, right? They pop their Avatar, they pop their, you know, Shadow Blaze, and they kidneyed you. They don't want to stop doing damage. They don't care. In their head, they don't care about Thorns. They want to do their damage. They're not going to press their cooldowns and walk away because you press Thorns. That's how you can maximize, like, kind of like min-max the damage you can get out of Thorns and make it more effective. So try to pair that with like big cooldowns, because usually they won't. If they're not popping any cooldowns, they're probably just gonna run away, and then, you know, and just your Thorns becomes useless at that point. I mean, some players will be a little bit smarter with it, but a lot of players, if they pop cooldowns, they don't care about your Thorns, even at a higher rating, man. I promise you. Especially warriors, for some reason they press reflect and they think it's gonna stop it, but it doesn't stop nothing. It's like it reflects like one hit. All right, and then so then outside of that, when it comes to doing my like one shot per se, is going to be just prepping a convoke. Okay, I do currently what I'm doing, and if you guys have seen any of my clips on my stream of me doing damage like that, I'll give an example here first before I explain it. Is going to be trying to somehow bait a trinket. I try not to convoke unless they have a trinket gone. And a lot of times, like I might even hold it for over 2 minutes. But honestly, sometimes it's worth it, because if they know you have Convoke, they'll probably start holding, you know, their trinket for you. Because if you Convoke with their trinket and they just trinket kick you, now it's kind of worthless, right? So what I usually try to do is force a trinket somehow. If you really can't force a trinket, what I was doing was trying to Convoke without Heart of the Wild, so that it's kind of like a minier Convoke, and then maybe try to force something, and then the next one maybe, and then by the time the next one, because you don't want to hold Convoke for like 5 minutes, right? So I was trying to, you know, I would always try to force a trinket, whether it's a clone, I don't even know, maybe. Usually if I'm trying to do it, it's probably clones. Clones or stuns. I may, you know, especially if they're human, I have to get their human racial. So, you know, I'll throw a maim in there here and there, just try to force out stun. And then once I know that they don't have a trinket, what I usually do is bait people behind corners. You know, this happens, dude, even some of the best players do this too, because they don't expect this to happen, right? I mean, once I play people multiple times, they might catch on. And I won't be able to do this, but typically I try to do this. I bait them behind the corner out of LOS of their healers. I press Heart of the Wild, and then it's easier to do this with a Shadow Melt because you don't have to worry about your combo points. But if you're not Night Elf and you're like a Tauren or whatever, you got to make sure you prep it first. So usually if I want to prep the main first, if you have Heart of the Wild up, you generate more combo points off of crits. You get 2 combo points, I believe, instead of 1. So you can, you know, just make sure you have 5 combo points prior to, then you go behind the corner, bait them there, maim, and then do it. Okay? Try not, you don't want to use it with a half stun. Honestly, using it with Shadow Melt is even a little risky, just because maim is a little bit longer, and it'll guarantee that you get the whole Convoke off pretty much. But I was doing it with Shadow Melt because this guy already had pretty low health, and then ended up finishing off with a massive, that was a delayed number there, but a massive 11k bite. I've gotten upwards of 15k on those, and like these aren't incredible though. 1900. And then what was I also gonna say? Oh yes, so if you are versing a tankier class, so Windwalkers are pretty squishy when you're doing this without trinket. If you're versing a tankier class like a DK or a warrior, or a ret or whatnot, you know that they're plate, so they may not be as affected by the bites. Try to make sure that they're low enough. And if you're doing it on healers as well, you don't want the healer to have a second to live. So if I'm doing this on a healer, see how low he is already? That's why I'm doing it now. Like if he was at 100%, I would have waited. I would have stayed in cat form and tried to, you know, get him down to at least like maybe 75% or so, because you want to guarantee the kill. Because sometimes it just takes 1 second. Like this guy, he might, I don't know if he had a port somewhere in the middle or whatnot. He maybe could have ported, he got sacked. And with the healer, you know, they could press Radiance out of that, or Ascendance or Link or whatever it may be. So you always make sure you don't have, so they have no opportunity to, you know, outplay that. And then that's how you can set up those one shots. So I do it all the time. Just, you know, a lot of people, especially right now, are very gung-ho with their trinkets, especially like rogue mages. I've gotten so many 1v2s on rogue mage just because they blow their trinket just trying to do damage, and then I end up just, you know, stunning the rogue and just killing him with one Convoke. But yeah, so this is actually way more common than you think. I'm getting better at setting them up. I'm sure people are going to start catching on, and then I'll have to figure out something a little different. If people do catch on to this, just kind of do it in coordination with your teammate. Like, you know, when I'm playing a higher rated games, I don't always try to do that. I try to maybe, you know, work on my teammate gets a poly or a fear or something maybe, and then I'll stun and then we go. So it doesn't have to always be like these bait one shots behind a corner, but man, they do work, especially against Mongo melee. And you know, definition of Shadowlands right now is Mongo melee. But yeah, that's about it for you guys today. If you guys have any other questions about doing damage, if I missed anything, please let me know in the comments. I'll definitely answer all that stuff. And otherwise, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Make sure you guys follow the stream as well. Peace.